Hello, I'm FPX Toycat, and the Caves and Cliffs Part 1 update, also known as Minecraft 1.17, was a really exciting update for the game in terms of creativity because it added Deepslate and all of its variants, which were going to allow for so many new building possibilities. However, when I first got the update, I mined with a Silk Touch pickaxe for quite some time until I got stacks and stacks of Deepslate, and I was really excited to throw them into a stonecutter, and when I realized that for some reason the stonecutter doesn't work on Deepslate. I mean, if you throw stone into a stonecutter, you can make all of the stone variants, and the same is true for cobblestone with the cobbled variants, but for whatever reason, you can't throw Deepslate into one of these. You have to throw cobbled Deepslate. Every single Deepslate variant block in the game, from Deepslate bricks to polished Deepslate stairs, all are crafted from the same cobbled Deepslate. And this is really strange and confusing by itself because it makes Deepslate the normal block next to useless besides as an ugly place down block, but also everything from the name to the variants they decided on, and also the very generation in this update, which is weird and temporary, all just strike me as things that don't make sense and don't feel very great and consistent with the rest of Minecraft, and I wanted to explain exactly why that is in today's video. This is going to be a little bit of a rant, but you know, you can subscribe, and unlike most rants, this has a 99.9% chance of helping you avoid house fires. I think I did those stats wrong. And believe me when I say I intend to do that later. However, for now, let's talk about the fact that Deepslate is the second time they've made another way to craft stone tools. There are now 3 separate materials that you can use to craft anything that would use cobblestone in the recipe, whether that be the stone tools directly, like the stone sword, pickaxe, or hoe, or whether that be a furnace. Pretty much anywhere that cobblestone is used in a recipe, you'll now be able to use not just cobblestone and not just blackstone, but also cobbled Deepslate. And this is exciting because it means we have 3 pretty much parallel blocks. They're meant to be the same exact resource. I mean, they can make the same tools down to the, you know, again, they don't even look different. They are exactly the same, unlike different types of woods, which will craft different colored signs and boats and, doors. Crafting from all 3 types of these stones is meant to be so similar that you get the exact same item in return. And so this makes a lot of sense. I mean, they're all stone-based blocks. They even look very similar. Look at cobblestone and look at blackstone and then look at cobbled Deepslate and tell me that they're not roughly the same kind of thickness. And so if they're all made from stone, and if the stone cutter is made for crafted stone materials, and if crafting stone materials should be the same regardless of the type of stone, explain to me this. The number of varieties of each of these types of blocks varies pretty wildly. So here is the Deepslate block, here is stone. These are pretty much analogous because when you mine them with a non-Silk Touch pickaxe, you get cobblestone or you get cobbled Deepslate. It's kind of confusing that there's no smooth blackstone version. You just find blackstone naturally in the wild, kind of made in its cobbled variant, but whatever. Then there is a stone brick variant for each of these 3 blocks. They've got very much the same texture. Some of them have a bit more darkness on them and a bit more like, kind of pixely noise, I guess we'd call it, but it's very much meant to be the exact same thing because they're all crafted from stone. Those stone bricks can of course then be cracked. Those stone bricks can of course then be chiseled, although actually, as a fun little fact, this is a chiseled stone brick, just to prove it to you right here. Here is the name of the block. It's chiseled stone bricks. And here is, of course, the exact same thing, the chiseled polished blackstone. But for whatever reason, the chiseled Deepslate block is just called chiseled Deepslate. So this is actually a chiseled version of this block. This is actually a chiseled version of this block, whereas this is a chiseled version of this block. This block right here, although you craft it using cobbled Deepslate. So chiseled Deepslate is meant to be this, however it's crafted using cobbled Deepslate, and so really it should be called chiseled cobbled Deepslate, which is just even more confusing, but this is just the start of the inconsistencies. There are no mossy blackstone blocks, no mossy Deepslate blocks. I get it, these generate naturally, but they can also be crafted with vines. Why can't I combine vines and blackstone together? It would look pretty cool. What about vines and cobbled Deepslate? And then when we get to stairs, it also gets confusing because there is obviously stone stairs, which are kind of analogous to the polished Deepslate stairs and the polished blackstone stairs. Then there's the regular stairs, then there's the brick stairs. There's obviously no mossy stairs or mossy slabs, but where this gets confusing is like, wait a minute, I thought you said that the polished blocks were analogous to the smooth stone ones. Yep, that's true. So why is it that the polished blocks of these have stairs, whereas polished stone, or smooth stone, doesn't have a stair block? You can only make stone slabs, or smooth stone slabs as they're now called, or you can make smooth stone blocks. There is no smooth stone stair for some reason, although there is a mossy cobblestone stair and a a mossy cobblestone brick stair, obviously no analog there. And you know what? It's the same with slabs. I don't understand any of this. What is going on with Minecraft variants? Why is it all so confusing? Even more confusingly, when they added Deepslate to the game, instead of adding all of those other blocks they were missing, they added Deepslate tiles. This is Deepslate tiles, Deepslate tile slabs, and Deepslate tile stairs. Why is this the case? Why is there no stone tiles? I would love to see a tiled stone block, or even a tiled black stone block. If these 3 blocks are all crafted stone materials, they're the 3 most similar things in the game, why is there so many differences to what you can craft between them? Why are there so many more stone blocks than Deepslate blocks, and why are there more Deepslate blocks than blackstone blocks? I don't understand that on the surface level. Why can't we get smooth blackstone? Why can't we get whatever? But then even more confusingly is when we dive into infested stone types. Here is every single infested stone type in the game. As you can see, when you punch it, it breaks very easily with a fist. You get infested stone types for pretty much every block. Not infested mossy cobblestone, but you only get 1 infested Deepslate type and no infested blackstone, which I can understand. There's no silverfish in the nether, but then why is there only 1 infested Deepslate block? And I'm so confused by that alone. But then we talk about the walls, and believe me when I say the walls are even more confusing, because you get cobblestone walls, you get mossy cobblestone walls, stone brick walls, and mossy stone brick walls. And then for Deepslate, you get cobbled Deepslate, polished Deepslate, you get Deepslate bricks and tiled Deepslate. So why is there no smooth stone wall? Why is there a mossy stone wall and a mossy stone brick wall, but not a smooth stone one? But then, also, why does blackstone only have 3 variants? There's blackstone, polished blackstone, and there's the blackstone bricks. Why isn't there a regular Deepslate? You know, it's all very confusing. Why do we even have separate blocks for Deepslate and cobbled Deepslate when cobbled Deepslate is the one with all the value, and you know, mining Deepslate with a Silk Touch pickaxe is just objectively worse? Is it a fun prank they're playing on Silk Touch users? Are they trying to nerf it? Also, if we try and think about the end analog to these blocks, this is endstone bricks. For some reason, endstone, which again looks very similar to cobblestone, can only be crafted into 3 things, and netherrack, which is kind of, again, it's got very similar texture, can't be crafted into anything. Why aren't there netherrack stairs? It's very confusing, but if we dive into Deepslate again, basically it seems like every single update in Minecraft, because bear in mind, blackstone was added just a year ago. Every update, they decide what blocks they're going to add, and then they work out the justification and why later. It's the only way you can explain what's going on here with the extreme inconsistency. You know, the textures, I'll admit, are consistent to each other when there is something that lines up. Wow, look at that. They vaguely look somewhat like each other, but the blocks you can actually obtain in survival don't. And this used to make sense because there was a block ID limit. Now they can add as many blocks to Minecraft as they want. They added 100 blocks in this last update, and most of them were the exact same block, but just in different stages. Why can't we have different Deepslate blocks to match the equivalents in stone? Why aren't there Deepslate strongholds, for example? If you go to a stronghold, even in the Deepslate lair, it's made from stone bricks because there's no Deepslate stone bricks. It's all very confusing, but consistency is not just a problem in trying to work out which blocks you can craft. And so let's start by taking a step back and actually analyzing what Deepslate is meant to be, because Deepslate, formerly known as GRIMSTONE, is meant to generate below Y0 in the full Caves and Cliffs update, and it's there because obviously the deeper you go, the harder stone gets, and it's there not only for real-life accuracy reasons, but also for game balance reasons. Once you go lower and lower, again below Y0, closer to -64, the new floor height after this update, you will be able to find better and better things. Diamonds generate in higher quantities, for instance, and you'll also be able to find the brand new Deep Dark biome. There are so many exciting things you'll be able to do basically by going down through the Deepslate layers, and Deepslate is meant to represent that you've hit a new part of your Minecraft world. Also, it'll be accompanied by all sorts of other blocks like the tuff and the diorite, but you'll be able to spot from the changes in the Minecraft geology how low down you are. And besides being slightly harder, it is meant to be similar to stone in lots of other ways. I mean, after all, its original name, GRIMSTONE, acknowledges that it is just a harder, more grim stone, perhaps we could say, and so it is a very clear analog to stone. There is stone for when you're going just barely underground, when you're doing a little bit of caving, checking out some ravines or whatever else, and then there is Deepslate, or GRIMSTONE, whichever one you want to call it, which is for when you're going really deep in your Minecraft world, and all the new cave things are happening to you, and where you're trying to find all the new Deepslate things. Consistency is also a major issue when it comes to even adding Deepslate to the game in the first place. So, for those of you unaware, the Caves and Cliffs update part 1 1 wasn't designed to be that way. It was split apart from the major update, partly for mental health reasons on the team, partly for technical challenges, and partly just to make sure they hit that summer release date. And so they made this half update, and they included Deepslate in there, except Deepslate is meant to generate below Y0. That is where Deepslate will generate from 1.18 until the end of time, or at least until they change it. However, in between 1.17 and 1.18, there is no below Y0. Even in creative mode, you cannot access that part of your world, and so what they've done as the in-between solution to still allow you to access Deepslate is they've made it randomly generate in little chunks, in little veins below Y16. Anywhere between 0 and 16, you can find Deepslate in the 1.17 update. And the reason this is a problem is consistency. The one big rule for Deepslate, the great thing about it is when you find it in your world, you know that you're roughly at or below Y0. You know you can find diamonds and you can find all of these other things. However, Deepslate generating in 1.17 is going to ruin that, and if you've had any chunks in your world that you explore in these next 6 months, it's going to ruin that balance in your world just a little bit, and so you could always ignore those chunks forever, but then those chunks are kind of forever ruined. 1.17 adding Deepslate and deciding to do it in the way they did it has kind of messed with a lot of systems, and some of those messing with, I'll actually agree I think it's kind of cool. For instance, did you know that there are 3 Deepslate ores that shouldn't ever generate post 1.18? Because obviously ores for copper, emeralds, and coal should not be spawning above Y0 or Y32 anyway, and so given that that is the case, you wouldn't expect to find those ores at all, except 1.17 means they're possible, which means another weird quirk, which I think is cool, but that objectively is kind of a problem, right? There's going to be Deepslate ores you shouldn't find, but you can find only if you explore your world now, so you have an incentive to mess up and make your world as weird as possible. Kind of cool, but also just inconsistent, right? There is a rule that will apply only for the next 6 months, and then it will change forever. Every single chunk that you explore between now and then is either going to ruin your world if you care about Deepslate being consistent, or if you really want to get those Deepslate ores, it's going to be a lifesaver. You have every incentive to explore or not explore your world in an artificial way, and that is kind of a problem. Minecraft should be the game where you don't have to worry what update you're playing, you can just enjoy and find some things, and you know that future updates will change things a little bit and try to find unexplored chunks, but you shouldn't be this desperately planning out your world ahead of time. And honestly, this kind of brings me to wrap up my points on Deepslate. I think that Deepslate, of all the 1.17 features, is probably the one that makes the least sense being there in that update. I mean, think about it. The big excitement about them raising the height limit and lowering the floor limit for Minecraft, bringing us all of these new areas, are the new biomes you're going to find down there, namely the Deep Dark and the Warden and stuff, but also the fact that you're going to visually be able to spot when you're in a new area of Minecraft, and you'll spot it with this new Deepslate. However, because anything that you want to build of Deepslate you'll have already been able to build in the time between then and now, it kind of makes that questionable before we even start talking about, like, oh yeah, did you know you have to deliberately switch from your Silk Touch pickaxe, which is the smart way to mine most of the blocks in the subsurface, you have to switch from that Silk Touch pickaxe out to another one. It will make the below Y0 area seem boring because, you know, having a challenge that's found only below there can be real exciting the first time you do it, and it would have been exciting the first time we did it in 1.18 this December, but having it be there right now just feels a bit wrong and off. And honestly, when you take all of these issues with the inconsistency of working out the blocks, with the inconsistency of where it's going to generate based on the version you're playing, and based on the fact that for some reason they don't know whether you should be using cobbled Deepslate or regular Deepslate, I think that Deepslate wouldn't have been a great addition to 1.17, but I actually feel the issue, and I understand why they added it, because if you look at 1.17 versus 1.18 features, how they decided which would be in which update, it's really hard to not just say, all of these features would have been better if you placed them inside just 1.18. If you had one unified Caves and Cliffs update, that would be the better thing, but obviously they needed to release something that could be called Caves and Cliffs, something that could have a fun trailer, and the only major features that I can think of that wouldn't be better included with the rest of them is probably copper ore. Copper is kind of its own self-contained thing with those lightning rods, right? That's exciting. Amethyst geodes, although even they, you could argue, would spawn lower down after this update, so you're going to have some broken things in that level. You know, maybe some mineshaft changes, which didn't make it to the full version for Bedrock at the very least, and also the goats and the axolotls. You could have an update that consisted of 5 features, except even the goats. They didn't add the goat horn in this update. They're saving that until 1.18, so we're down to 4 features, except really, again, when you think about the amethyst geodes, yeah, they kind of make more sense in 1.18, generating all the way down, so there's that as well. And so really what you end up with is you say this update could have perfectly just contained copper and axolotls, but they needed to add more excitement than just those 2 things. A spyglass and a copper ship alone are just not exciting enough for most people. Therefore, I think it's kind of clear that you need to have one of 2 opinions. Either you say the Caves and Cliffs update shouldn't have been split, but again, there's so many reasons why they decided they have to split it. Some of those are business, some of those are, again, all the other, like, well, they have technical limitations, and, you know, they want to keep the excitement going for players over this summer. You know, this year, a full year's players need Minecraft more than ever, so having some new things to play around with is, of course, great. But I also feel like Minecraft could have just announced this change a lot sooner than a month before the update was going to release. If they'd been targeting a Caves and Cliffs Part 1 update, they could have designed some features especially for this update, because, again, most of the challenge in Caves and Cliffs Part 2 is just in making that technical stuff work, so the people who would be working on art and the people who would be working on all these other things that aren't necessarily in that same technical space could be working on some fun features for Caves and Cliffs Part 1. You know, maybe add some of those features that have been on the technically coming to Minecraft forever list, like, you know, boat chests and stuff like that. Just have a few easy to put in there fan favorite features, combine it with the copper, and all of a sudden you can call it the Goats and Boats update. I just feel like, honestly, every time you look at almost any feature in this update besides copper, you just go, yeah, that might be better though if you had it with all of the other things. And isn't that kind of the tragedy of all of this? You know, I mean, like, it seems like almost every big Mojang Studios issue is something management. You know, like, oh yeah, we had to you know, shut down the other projects that we did. Now, I think every Minecraft spin-off game besides literally Minecraft, Bedrock, and Minecraft Dungeons is hit a terrible fate. There's so many rest in peace versions, but like also it seems as though every update hits some major hiccups, and planning for those hiccups ahead of time should be someone's jobs that isn't the developers to come out here and be like, you know what, we really tried, but we just couldn't do it. Maybe I'm just being idealistic here. Maybe the real issue is just in Deepslate and me not appreciating it. I personally feel the struggle of like really wanting to do something that people really want to see from you, and just knowing that you can't get it done in the time that you need to, and I feel that on a super small scale of these videos. I can't imagine how disappointed some of the Minecraft staff are that they couldn't deliver the full Deepslate experience, and at wider point, the full 1.18 Caves and Cliffs Part 2 experience inside of 1.17. But ultimately, all we have to know as a community is that they do intend to do that by the end of this year. They say the holiday season of 2021. And again, I hope that the lessons have been learned from Part 1, that we don't just repeat this in 6 months' time. I'm optimistic. I hope you're optimistic too. And if you're optimistic, wow, hit that subscribe button, because YouTubers tell you to do it because it boosts the number of subscribers, and that makes me feel like people are watching the videos, which makes me want to make more videos. And you know what? Is that a vain reason to do it? Yes. But do you have any better reason to subscribe? I bet you don't. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you do decide to watch more of my videos, because I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.